Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our Lego room. In today's video, we are taking a look at our North Pole Railroad Lego train that we have built from various kits from Brick Tracks. And we will be running those train cars around our layout. Don't think I've actually run any of the North Pole Railroad cars or locomotive around the actual layout here before. When we have run them, it's been around the Christmas tree. So it should be fun to run them around the layout here. Curious to see exactly how they navigate all the corners and all the different switches, as they are definitely a larger scale than most of the other train cars in our collection. And I'm also going to do some tests here to see just how much the Union Pacific train and then ultimately the North Pole Railroad locomotive can pull behind it. I've already done a little sneak preview test, and the Union Pacific train is not able to pull the cars that it has attached to it there right now. So all six of the North Pole Railroad train cars can't be pulled by the Union Pacific, but I'll shorten it up, run it around a little bit with the Union Pacific just to make sure everything's running smoothly. And then we will try with the North Pole Railroad locomotive, see if it's any different with that locomotive and how things run. So let's take a closer look at each of the train cars and then start running things around the layout. So just for on-camera proof, we'll try running with the Union Pacific first so you guys can see that with all six train cars, it's not able to pull them. It's actually interesting. It kind of starts to pull them a little bit. I wonder if I had some, grippy elastics on the wheels up here at the front, whether that would be enough to get the whole thing moving along. I'm going to try taking off a couple of the train cars and see just how many train cars the Union Pacific is able to pull in its current configuration. So I've taken off the box car, see if that might be enough. The train is, like, all the cars are big, but that box car might be one of the bigger ones or the heavier ones. That looks like it was just enough to get things rolling. Curious to see whether it'll make it around the entirety of the layout without any issues. It's really just going to be about the switches and just making sure that everything sticks together nicely. Yeah, so far so good. That looks pretty positive. It's got a good amount of momentum. So I guess that extra little bit of weight from the box car was really the difference there. It does make me wonder, though, if there are changes I could make to the Union Pacific locomotive there, like adding those, sort of traction grippy elastics onto the wheels, whether that would be enough to allow it to pull all six cars. But really happy with that. Nice to see that the Union Pacific can pull those train cars. run it around for a couple of loops here, and then we'll get the North Pole Railroad locomotive out. This has to be one of my favorite views here with the trees. Really happy with how these trees are working. Pretty smooth, really happy with how that's running. I have been thinking about buying some additional parts and extending the Union Pacific train out. So with the lighter and smaller cars that are on the Union Pacific, I'm curious just how many train cars it would be able to pull, whether I could at least double the length of the train. Little slower around that end of the layout there, just with the back-to-back corners, but not bad still. Manages to hold the speed fairly well. So now we've got the actual North Pole Railroad locomotive out in front here. Curious to see if the pulling power is any different on this one compared to the Union Pacific. I'm going to leave it in the same configuration that I was running with the Union Pacific train or locomotive first, just to see if it can at least pull these 5 cars. So we'll leave the stock car off to the side for the time being. And see whether it runs okay like that. And then we can try putting the stock car back into the train to get the full North Pole Railroad experience. So far, so good. Seems to be going smoothly. I'm running it at a relatively slow speed to start out with. Just want to make sure that everything is good with the locomotive before I turn the speed up a little bit. The last thing we want is a high speed crash, but it all seems to be working fairly well here. Other thing I wasn't sure about is whether the clearance tolerances were good all around the layout for the just sort of overall size of this train, both the locomotive and the rail cars, but everything seems to be working out really well. So I think we should do 2 things. One, we should get the stock car hooked up to the train and then see if we can run the whole North Pole Railroad at a higher speed around the layout. So, good news, we've managed to get it running with the entire North Pole Railroad sort of load out. We've got all the 6 train cars on there. We've got the locomotive running. I had to do a little battery swap because the battery I had in there originally didn't have enough juice for pulling all of the train cars. And even with this battery, which I think is fairly close to full, it is running fairly slow, but still making its way around the layout in a decent amount of time. It's really nice to be able to see everything running. I think my last... Oh boy, what are we getting caught on? So, everything is running fairly smoothly. It looked like a couple pieces came off of the bottom of the stock car. So I'm going to have to get those put back on. But the train is running. I do want to experiment with, a fully charged up battery box, see what I get in terms of speed there. And then I think one of the things that the train runs into is just that after a while of going around, there are some fairly low pieces that are close to the tracks. And sometimes when they go over the track near a switch, those pieces can kind of come off over time. So I'm going to run around the layout a few more times in the future just to test out some of the weak spots. I did notice on the bottom of the stock car, the front set of wheels doesn't pivot quite as freely as the back set, which may be contributing to some of that, may leave some parts in a spot where they get knocked off. But, overall, really happy with how this performed. I definitely, this is one of those trains that as we build out some more sidings and the under layout set of track, this is a train that I want to have, queued up and ready to run whenever I can. It's very impressive, and I would definitely like to add some more train cars to this in the future. Ones that I'm thinking about are, I think it would be cool to add a few more tank cars. I think the ones that are there currently look great. I think we should be able to get a few different color schemes going. You can see the ones there right now are for eggnog and hot chocolate. I'm sure we could come up with some interesting other options as well. And I would like to still build another version of the reindeer stock car so that we can have the full set of 8 reindeer as part of the train as well. So definitely some work ahead to, just fine tune this particular locomotive and train and to get it, queued up in a way that it can always be accessible to run on the track. Having it off to the side, it's a hard train to move back and forth from the layout to a shelf just because of all the little parts and details around the wheels for all of the train cars, and that makes it somewhat difficult to get lined up on the track as well with the wheels without knocking any parts off. So a few things to do there, but definitely want to fine tune and add to this train going forward so that it can become a regular, sort of sight to see around our layout. Now, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And thank you very much for watching. We will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.